Okay. If you guys see, it's still a little bit, it's very sketchy and it's very free-flowing. I'm not too worried about making these perfect. Then I'm going to move over. Then I will draw a third circle, making it a little bit smaller again. I'm going to go all the way to the end of my paper until I get almost to pretty much just a point. Okay, so I will continue going smaller and smaller as I go. This is just an exercise in controlling your hand and creating, changing the shape of something even though you're drawing the same thing. Okay, so that's the idea of this one. If you see, they all sort of go on an angle and start to get a little bit smaller until we get pretty much to just a point. Okay. All right. So for the next activity, what you're going to do is you're going to do the same thing that we just did, but instead of doing it in a row, now we're going to go ahead and do it kind of in a curvy sort of S shape, kind of like a snake shape. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing again. I'm going to start off with a circle. Okay, but now I'm going to start to go down and then I'm going to curve it up. It's just about kind of switching the way. It's going to make it a little bit more challenging because I'm not seeing the circles right next to each other in a row, right? So my second circle again is going to be a little bit smaller. Okay, now I'm going to start to go up a little bit. But at the same time, remember making sure that my lines, that my circles are getting, it's going in a curve, but it's getting smaller as I go. Okay, so same idea, right? But we're just going in a curvy line instead of a straight line. Okay. All right. So once you have your second set of circles, we're going to do one more. For this last one, what we're going to do is so we're going to do the same idea where we're going to do a curvy shape with our circles, but instead of our circles touching, or putting them next to each other, we're going to leave a little tiny bit of space in between our circles. So now it's going to be just a little tiny bit more challenging because we don't have the circles right next to each other. So try to find a place on your paper, wherever you want to go ahead and place it. Your notes or your exercises do not have to be exactly as mine, as long as you're still following the same exercises that we're doing. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and I have a lot of space right here on the middle of my paper. So I'm going to go ahead and try to fit it in right here in between my other two circles. Okay, my two circle sets. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and again, I'm going to start off with a large circle. All right, but now I'm going to leave a little bit of space and I will add a second or the rest of my circles, but leaving, like I said, a little bit of space in between them. You can kind of curve it whichever way fits for your paper. Even your curvy design doesn't have to be exactly as mine. And then you might run out of space, but that's fine. Just fit in as many as you can fit. Okay. All right. So that's the idea, right? So we did three of these sets of circles, one in a row, one in a curvy shape, and then one where there's space. The last one is also curvy, but it's a little bit more spaced apart. Okay. All right, so we're gonna do one more drawing exercise for today, and then that'll be it for today. You can do it in pencil, but I'm gonna do it in a black pen just so that way you can go ahead and see it a little bit better. All right, so for this last one, it is called parallel lines. Okay. Now, if we know what parallel lines, right? These are lines that that run together but never intersect. So what I want you to go ahead and start off with is you're going to be practicing drawing curvy lines. I know that a lot of us sometimes have a hard time drawing smooth, continuous lines. So what you're going to do is for the first part, you're going to just draw a curvy line. It does not have to be exactly as mine. It's just the idea of drawing a wavy line. Okay. All right. So once you have your wavy line, you're going to draw another one right next to it, trying to mimic or trying to copy the same shapes or the same curves. So if you see, I'm going to start off in the same spot. It is going to take a little bit of practice. It's going to take a little bit of time for our lines to look the same. Even if you do it and if it doesn't look exactly the same, it's not a big deal. But it's I want you guys to go ahead and practice doing this sort of thing. I like to call this activity sort of my snake designs because it almost looks like a little snake, right? But for this activity, like I said, we're going to be practicing just curvature and drawing curvy lines. So what I want you guys to try to do is try to make all of your curvy lines that you make all different shapes or different types of curves. So for example, like I'm going to go ahead and start a different one. And then, so I'll try to make it a little bit different than this one that I just made, right? So then now that I have my curvy line, I'm going to try to do the same thing where I'm going to go ahead and mimic or copy the shape of it. Okay. All right, but now I'm going to go ahead and continue. I will do the same line, maybe like between 4 or 5 times. Okay. So you're kind of trying to create a sort of a pattern. But once you draw the line, I want to say between like 4 or 5 times, then you can go ahead and move on to a different one. For this activity, we're going to be filling up the whole page with these sorts of lines and curvy shapes. So you can just go ahead and it's going to be a little bit of a doodle. It's going to be just practice. So however many you need to do to fill up your space, that's how many that I want you guys to go ahead and do. I would say no less than probably 15 different sets of these. They can overlap, that's fine, but I'm going to go ahead and start off and do a separate one. Your lines do not have to look the same as mine. It's more about the action of creating your own design. Okay. Some of them can be a little bit more, a little bit smoother if you wanted them to be.